What up friends, my name is Stan from RandomTens, and this particular video is more overdue than a Gen 6 Battle Frontier.
Whether you've been a follower of me and this channel for a while now, or you've recently started watching our streams, one thing should be unanimously clear, and that's the fact that I really like shiny Pokemon. They're hard to find, completely random, and for the most part, these distinctly colored comrades look pretty great, and of course Sun and Moon offer some truly wonderful additions to the series. So without wasting any more time, catch a Smeargle and grab your charm, because these are the top 10 best shiny Pokemon in Sun and Moon. Number 10. With every new generation of Pokemon, it seems that Game Freak loves to not only progress, but also sometimes go back to the past for new ideas. And despite how well received and popular Mega Evolutions were, for better or worse, the company opted to go another route this time when it came to tapping into our collective nostalgia with brand new Alola forms for some of Gen 1's most popular pocket monsters. If I'm being honest, most of these sort of fell flat for me, but I knew from the moment I saw the adorable Alolan Raichu that if done right, there could be a few well thought out surprises, and in my opinion, Alolan Marowak might just be the best of the bunch. Now admittedly, the thing that keeps this bonehead from placing higher is the missed opportunity with its fire. I mean seriously, just picture this guy with a blue or red flame club instead of the standard green. It's so much better, right? Still though, its dark purple body plays much better into its secondary typing, and its black stomach and forehead marking especially make Marowak stand out as a winner, and in my opinion, this is the best Alolan form shiny we got this gen, with Raichu a very close second. But trust me, when it comes to great shiny designs, we're just getting started. Number 9. I'll be upfront about this right now, you won't be seeing a single legendary Pokemon on this countdown. I have nothing against the mascots, Ultra Beasts, or even Type Null, it's just honestly, compared to others on this list, they don't really stand out. But I will admit that had they not been shiny locked and therefore only available through events and hacking, one of the Tapus had a really great shot of making this list, likely even in one of these next few slots. The subdued colors and sleek shades of black found on any of these Guardian deities is a treat for the eyes, and makes them look even more unified and regal than they already do. And you know what? I'm breaking my own rule. In the number 9 spot, we have Taboo Bulu. This is actually my least favorite of the 4, but even I can admit that when it comes to their shiny forms, Bulu is the king. As you'll see later on this list, when it comes to shiny variants, yellow and black always makes for a winning combination, but what I really appreciate is how replacing its red highlights with black better conveys this Pokemon's grass typing. And so for looking sleek, being extremely rare, and of course being Alolan royalty, there was no way that Taboo Bulu wasn't going to be on this countdown. Number 8. For whatever reason, I sort of underestimated this next Pokemon. I mean, I had one on my team and I knew how electrifying it could be in battle, but when it came to its shiny form, I always sort of preferred its natural coloring. That was, of course, until I actually caught my own shiny Grubbin and laid my eyes upon this brilliant silver and green bug type. Vicrylvolt has a shiny form really unlike any other Pokemon in Gen 7, and despite immediately drawing the eye, I think what made me hesitant was the bold choice of coloring. You'd be forgiven for assuming with all of the silver that this insect might be a steel type, but of course, like its pre-evolutions, it's still electric bug. Now, I'm not sure if you guys know this, but if there's one thing I dislike about shinies, it's a color scheme that completely misrepresents a creature's typing. An example of this would be Golisopod, and how its blood red features completely contrast its water bug DNA. Does it look cool? Heck yeah, but there's a part of me that just sort of finds its shiny palette confusing, and yet when it comes to Vicrylvolt, the steel-silver pairs so well with the bug green features that I just don't care. Is it striking enough to crack the top 5? Well, definitely not. It still does have those glaring flaws. However, for looking so dang cool, I can't help but put pure logic aside when it comes to this awesome special attacker. Number 7. Disregarding legendaries, what do you think is the hardest shiny to obtain in Generation 7? One of the starters perhaps? Mareanie? Salandit? Well, personally, I think it's gotta be the Type Null that Gladion gives you after beating the game. Because unless you have the patience to soft reset hundreds to thousands of times until you get one, it's otherwise impossible. But like I mentioned a few spots earlier, I sort of find Type Null underwhelming. The colors aren't terribly different, and overall, I think there's just too much going on, and unless you're a dedicated hunter like myself, it's probably not worth all of the effort. And yet, for whatever reason, I can't get enough of its evolution's alternate form. Silvally has to be one of my personal favorite Pokemon from Gen 7, and where Null has a sort of rusted brown shiny look, this synthetic powerhouse looks positively golden. And for me, the transformation both in terms of its regular design, but also in how its shiny form goes from copper to gold, sort of signifies what this Pokemon is supposed to represent, which is the powerful bond between a Pokemon and its trainer. It's pretty inspired stuff that I have to imagine went into every facet of its creation, and it's for this reason, and of course its extreme rarity, that I can get past the fact that it's maybe still not as striking as a few others on this countdown. Also, thanks to all its memories, it's got a lot of alternate forms you can play with. Number 6. As much as many of us don't like to admit it, almost every generation of Pokemon has a winner or two. What I mean is that for every 100 or so designs, there always seems to be one that resonates with people worldwide, whether intended to or not. Charizard, Piplup, and of course Greninja are just a few notable examples of this, and now that a few months have passed, I think it's pretty clear who won Sun and Moon in terms of popularity. Mimikyu is simultaneously one of the most creative, cutest, and creepiest designs to come from the minds of Game Freak, and luckily for its army of fans, it's got a pretty great shiny to boot. Admittedly, muting all of its colors sort of undermines the entire concept of a wannabe Pikachu. However, this ghostly gray shiny gains all the more in the horror department during the palette swap. To me, this form gives Mimikyu its own specific identity and really pushes its ghost typing to the forefront. Is it the greatest shiny this generation? No, but it helps set a haunting tone for this unappreciated imposter and looks miles better than any shiny Pikachu I've ever seen. Number 5. To this day, I wholeheartedly believe that Game Freak has yet to make a bad starter Pokemon. I'm aware there's some that are vastly more popular than others, and heck, even I'm not personally a fan of each and every starter's design. But I think when it comes to starters, there's something for every fan of this series, and Sun and Moon is no different. However, despite my unconditional love of all things Rowlet, I have to concede that when it comes to shiny Alolan starters, my precious Grass Owl doesn't hold a candle to the internet's new favorite edgelord. Now, I like Litten a lot, but with its jet black fur, I've always sort of associated it more as a dark type, rather than the pure fire type it actually is. However, when this fiery furball turns shiny, it looks like a candy cane on 4 paws, and I love it. The red and white combo looks brilliant, brings the entire evolutionary line's primary typing to the forefront, and also seems to be partially inspired by Siberian tigers, thus making it seem endangered and therefore even more special. Mind you, I also think both Rowlet and even Popplio have excellent shinies that help emphasize some of the themes in their respective designs. But as great as they are, to me there's no competition. When it comes to the best shiny starter this gen, Litten remains king of the jungle. It's not a lion, you idiot. Number 4. Since the dawn of time, there's been a few very important questions specifically designed to gain insight into a person's character. Do you prefer summer or winter? The bustling city or a peaceful town away from the world? And of course, the most important of all, are you a dog person or a cat lover? Well, I guess this countdown is definitive proof that my allegiance has gone to the dogs. Let's all be upfront for a second, whether you prefer one species over the other, there's no denying that Rockruff is one of the most adorable Pokemon ever made. Its curious eyes, rambunctious nature, and of course a cry that makes you feel guilty for chaining hundreds of innocent puppies in search of that one special canine. But hunt them you must, because Rockruff has one of the single best shinies in terms of pure aesthetic that I've ever seen. I'm not entirely sure why either, but the bright green eyes coupled with the powder blue body gives it a dynamic look that makes spending hours chaining this particular pupper so worth it. And yet it doesn't make it this high on the list just because it looks great. Rockruff's traditional coloring is a perfect choice for its rock typing. However, the reason its shiny form works despite it deviating so dramatically is because it reflects the very area where you can catch this lovable mutt. 10 Carat Hill is a very secluded, almost secretive location hidden on Mele Mele Island, and with a name like that, you can't help but think of all sorts of rare and expensive gemstones, including diamonds, which is exactly what I think of every time I lay eyes on this beautiful blue shiny. And to me at least, diamonds symbolize a strong bond, resilience, and of course are extremely precious, which are exactly the sort of qualities I feel towards my own shiny Rockruff every time I send it into battle. So yeah, this adorable blue Fleabag isn't just man's best friend, but apparently a girl's best friend too, which makes it a solid candidate for the number 4 spot. Number 3. Over the years, we've gotten some seriously impressive black shinies, from terrifying dragons like Haxorus and Rayquaza, to impactful starters like Charizard and Greninja. Sometimes turning a bright color into a dark shade just works. However, for the most part, many of these Pokemon don't have any logical reason for the awesome swap to black, so when we get a stellar one like Palos, it seems that much sweeter. In my personal opinion, this is the best looking shiny in Pokemon Sun and Moon. The bright yellow and blue features contrast the subdued black body in a way that makes this special sandcastle stand out like no others in this generation. But what's even better is there's actually a reason for it to look this way, as there's a popular tourist destination deep in the heart of Maui known as Black Sand Beach. So yeah, not only does shiny Palossand look absolutely stunning, but it also makes complete sense when considering where the region it hails from is located, which is a level of detail that very few shiny Pokemon can claim. So kudos, Game Freak, you gave us another incredible black shiny, and the research and care you put into its design shine through brighter than the yellow shovel adorning its head. Oh, also the lack of color like Mimikyu really helps convey its secondary ghost typing. Not too shabby for a pile of sand. Number 2. Nobody wants to be a sidekick. Whether you use the term runner-up, second fiddle, or player 2, most people would much rather play as Sonic than Tails. And that's exactly why this next fighting type takes the number 2 spot. I'm actually a big fan of Cro Brawler and its icy evolution naturally, but it wasn't until I saw its shiny form that I really understood the deeper meaning in its intricate design choices. It's sort of like a boxing match or a fighting game, and for every fighter pumped up and ready to do battle in the blue corner, there's always an equally hungry opponent in the red, and that's the brilliance in this outstanding shiny iteration. It's the red Rock'em Sock'em robot, the player 1, and the eternal rival to the thousands of regular Cro Brawler out there. And the best part is that it looks even better as a result of its palette swap. I mean, when you think of boxing gloves, you most likely associate them with the color red, and the way they match its red boots and what appears to be a bloody eye pulls the entire underdog look into place. This is what a great shiny with hours of creative design looks like fully realized, and it's shinies like Cro Brawler that elevate the entire concept into much more than just a simple exchanging of colors. So then it's a little ironic that this incredible player 1 design, despite the effort, still finishes number 2. And yet somehow that sounds exactly like another familiar boxing story I know of. Number 1. I honestly debated what I was going to do for this coveted final spot. See, it's a bit of a conflict of interest for me because, as many of you know, this next Pokemon is one of my favorites among those introduced in Sun and Moon. If that doesn't make this hard enough, this Pocket Monster also happens to be my go-to answer on stream when folks ask me what my favorite shiny Pokemon ever is. So yeah, call it preferential treatment, call it bias, call it whatever you like, but please at least allow me to explain why I think Minior isn't just the best Gen 7 shiny, but the single best shiny ever made. Weirdly enough, I actually disliked this alternate form the first time I saw it on Cerebi because I felt it diminished the entire point of Minior's design. The popular rock flying type is based on the Japanese candy Konpeito, which are the very same star-shaped sweets that Super Mario Galaxy's beloved Lumas are derived from. So, to me at least, removing the color did a major disservice to its very inspiration, and I sort of just waved it off. But then finally, while watching another streamer, I saw Shiny Minior's 3D model for real, and I understood why everyone else was going crazy over this design. Not only does removing the color make this special Pokemon seem more cosmic, and therefore much closer to its in-game origins, but it also allowed the design team to do something so incredibly genius, I can't believe it hadn't been done before. As you've probably noticed by now, unlike what I ignorantly assumed upon my first inspection of this creature, its shiny form doesn't just remove all of its candy-inspired colors, but rather it does the exact opposite. As in, Shiny Minior takes all of its alternate color schemes and marries them into one black hole party bowl featuring every single flavor. It looks brilliant, somehow makes its design inspirations shine even brighter, and in my opinion is the single most creative design choice Game Freak has ever made when it comes to a roster of over 800 shinies. And if you think I'm crazy to put this multicolored space rock at number 1, then I urge you to breed one for yourself and see if you still feel the same way, because Minior Shiny is frankly out of this world. What's up, guys? I want to thank everyone who watched this one. It took me way longer than I'm proud to admit, and I hope it was worth the wait even a little bit. Big thanks goes out to One Okusagi, David Z, Demon Gone, and Son of Kuro for helping me get some of these trickier shinies you saw in the video today. And if you want to see more shiny goodness, click that annotation on the screen for my top 10 worst shiny Pokemon. I'll be back hopefully much sooner next time with my review of Heart Gold and Soul Silver. So stay tuned for that, and as I always say, happy hunting, baby rhinos. Peace.